My name's Sophia Myles, and I play Beth Turner.
Who's Beth Turner?
Beth Turner she's an LA girl. She's an internet news reporter. She goes right to the centre of crime scenes in the city and does a live feed to her internet news site called Buzzwire News, where she works.
So she's sort of like just a very hungry, ambitious young news person, is that?
Yeah, she's a young journalist. She is very ambitious. And Buzzwire, the internet site that she works for, is a bit like kind of TMZ.
Okay.
But I definitely think that Beth has aspirations to, continue climbing up the ladder with her reporting.
And somehow I think she may have found an ally in this young man, this mysterious young man that she meets.
Absolutely. She meets Mick St. John at a crime scene one evening down by the Pacific Design Centre, and she's instantly feels an affinity with him. She doesn't know whether she's met him somewhere before or whether she's just rather impressed by him because of his stunning good looks. But they have an instant connection, and he keeps turning up at every place where Beth is also. He keeps turning up wherever Beth is, and is very involved with the crime, as trying to solve the crime as well. He's an undercover private investigator.
Does she consider him a source or a possible love interest?
I think it's a combination of both. I think she initially he's a work ally, and she definitely feels that through a relationship with him is beneficial to her professionally, because he has a lot of inside information, obviously working as a private investigator, but also she's sexually and intellectually attracted to him, so there is that kind of frisson there as well.
And I guess at some point we kind of realized that he's sort of maybe her guardian angel. I mean, he's torn about his feelings for her. Can you sort of take us into the whole guardian angel aspect?
Absolutely. Well, there's a backstory that is revealed to the audience in the first episode, that actually Mick saved Beth when she was a young girl. So there is a lot of history between them. Beth at this point doesn't realise that. It's a very interesting dynamic to kind of play this relationship, because obviously vampires don't age, but Beth as a human does. So even if they fall in love with each other, it's kind of quite a difficult, complex situation if they're going to actually decide to get seriously romantically involved.
Does she know anything? Does she know he's a vampire? Does she know that he's...
She doesn't have a clue that she's a vampire. That he's a vampire in the first episode. No, not a clue.
Let's talk about vampires. And the show's called Moonlight. Tell me what Moonlight's about. Maybe even why it's called Moonlight, if you've figured that one out yet.
Moonlight is a romantic thriller. But to say it's just that is really not doing it justice at all. It's a detective story every week. It's very scary, but it's also very funny. There's a lightness to it that I think makes it really special. I haven't seen anything quite like it on television before.
What do you think it's going to appeal to? What kind of people are going to tune in to see? I mean, television is so broad now, and there's so many different types of programs on now. So where does Moonlight sort of fit in? Is it the Lost crowd, or is it...
Oh, goodness. Moonlight. I mean, Moonlight's going out Friday night, 9 o'clock, CBS. In terms of audiences, I don't know. I'm a London girl, so the realms of American television it's all new to me. It's a whole new world. So in terms of who its audience is going to be, I'm not entirely sure. I definitely think, though, that it's not... You can't really pinpoint a specific genre to the piece. Therefore, I think that it has universal appeal. I mean, obviously don't show it to young children because it's very scary, but teenagers right through adults, I think everyone's going to enjoy it.
Is this one of those types of shows where you really have to watch carefully? Ooh, there are all kinds of clues going about, there are flashbacks going about.
Yeah, I mean, you need to pay attention. I mean, each story is very rich, and there's a lot going on, especially at the beginning when we're trying to explain to the audience who's who and where everyone comes from and what everyone's role is.
Let's talk about vampires. Describe what you knew about vampires until you signed on here. What was your take on it?
Well, you see, I know quite a lot about vampires. I've played two. I played a vampire in a film called Underworld, a rather evil vampire in that one. And I also did an adaptation of Dracula for the BBC back in England, and I played Lucy. So I got bitten and became one, and then did the whole stake through the heart thing. So I feel quite I feel quite a pro at it, really, in terms of the kind of vampire theme, and it's fascinating. And I know from those two experiences that the fan base out there and the interest that people have for vampires it's astronomical.
Well, do you think vampires are scary? Do you think they're sexy? Do you think they've evolved to where they just blend in so much with all of us that...
It's I don't know what it is, and I'm still trying to put my finger on quite what makes people fascinated with them. The blood thing has never quite done it for me personally, but each to their own.
It makes a different kind of vampire because it doesn't really prey on the living, right?
Absolutely. Well, this is different in the sense that I think normally when we hear the term vampire, we think, oh, evil person, bloodsucker. But actually, no, in our story, Mick is, although he's a vampire, he uses all of his kind of vampiric power and to kind of do good within society. He's not a bad guy. He doesn't kill innocents.
He gets his blood from other sources too,
yeah.
Right? Which I think is kind of funny. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Could you explain sort of the balance of he's a private eye, he's solving crimes, and yet vampires at some point were always sort of on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a funny mix. You don't, like I said, you associate the vampire with being the bad guy, and in our piece, he's the good guy. So it's a whole new spin on it.
Do you think people often have a whole new spin on vampires when they watch this? Especially those big vampire fans out there say, "See, I told you."
I hope so. I definitely think so. I mean, I'm not familiar with... I've never seen an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've never seen an episode of Angel, so I'm really the last person to ask about kind of comparing, what we're doing differently or whatnot. But I think the thing with our show is that there aren't any goblins or kind of creatures. We deal just with, the real world. So you believe that these people could exist.
There's still some vampire archetypes here, right? Because you sort of have this character, Jason, who almost seems like Count Dracula to me.
Yeah.
You've got, they're all very different. Then you've got Coraline, who has got that Lestat sort of thing going as well, where she looks very romantic and evil and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you comment a little bit about that, the different vampire archetypes? Do we change it?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
What do you mean with the archetypes? Like what?
The Jason, again, the very charming, that you could buy him as a vampire.
Yeah, sure. I think from my own kind of personal perception of vampires, I've always assumed that they were very, very sexy, very provocative, but at the same time rather frightening as well underneath it all. And I think definitely all the people playing the vampires on this show definitely have. We have a really hot-looking cast on this show. Super sexy.
Let's talk about the cast. Tell me, cast members, who they played. Tell me a little bit about them. We'll start with Alex.
Well, we've got Alex O'Loughlin, who plays Mick St. John, our lead. And Alex is great. He's from Australia. And for me, being a Brit, I was quite nervous coming out here to the States, working on an American TV show. But to have another member of the Commonwealth as my sidekick, it's nice. I don't feel so kind of alien being here.
Dealing with us colonial. And then we have Shannon, right?
Shannon Sossaman. I was super excited when I found out she was going to be on this show. She's so gorgeous. I had a bit of a girl crush on her after I saw Knight's Tale, so I was really excited to meet her.
Does she know this?
No, not yet. I haven't told her. Shh.
And then let's talk about Jason.
Jason, I wasn't so familiar with. I haven't seen Veronica Mars yet, but I was completely blown away by him at the table read last week. He's so funny and very, very talented, and he has a lot of fans. We went to a Comic-Con a few days ago, and it was like going with Britney Spears. They were screaming.
So these are the two women in Mick's life.
Yes.
Again, we're talking about Beth, right?
Beth and Coraline, yeah.
And how are they similar and how are they different? What does he feel for both of them? What kind of energy